Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday and cheers. You've made it halfway through the week, and we are here for another edition of Trades Lady Happy Hour with yours truly. I am hanging out in this lovely decored hotel room, which means I am not in Phoenix right now. I am out and filming, so you get to join me in my hotel room. Tonight, I am super excited to be joined by Diana. I'm not going to even pretend to pronounce her last name because I'm horrible at that. I'm going to let her pronounce that for us properly so I don't mangle it. But Diana is a incredibly talented auto mechanic. I had the privilege of meeting her and working with her for the first time in, I guess, 2 years ago now. The COVID year is like a blur, so I always forget to include that. But it was about 2 years ago on the high yellow 56 build that we did at my shop, Girl Gang Garage. And I just was so impressed with her and just loved meeting her and working with her. And then she was just recently out in Phoenix again. And really excited to have her on and get to chat with her and hang out with her for a little bit and have you guys all hear her story and learn a little bit more about her and her journey. And there she is. Hello.
Hello.
How are you, my lovely?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I love your blue showing off. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. It's on purpose. I love it.
I've got my purple all wrapped up tight under wraps, but it's there.
You can still see it though.
Right? What you drinking tonight?
I am drinking Puerto Rican coconut rum.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Straight from the island.
Nice. Nice. I've just got boring
Very.
whiskey. It's not even the exciting apple stuff that you introduced me to.
That's pretty good. It grows on you, doesn't it?
It did. I think it's the alcohol that makes it grow on you. After like the first sip, you're like, oh, this actually tastes decent. But the first sip was awful. I think it's once the alcohol sets in, it starts tasting better. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you agreed to join me. I know you were a little hesitant at first.
Thank you for asking.
Of course. It is my my privilege to have you on here. I'm already getting comments, is it still the Costco whiskey? No, I did not bring the Costco whiskey.
You finally finished it?
Right. Well, I haven't finished it, but it's at home in Phoenix. I'm not going to bring a bottle of that with me to Florida. Yeah, this is not my home. You like, that's, yeah, hotel decor. Hotel decor, not my first choice, but all right. So I want to dive in because I know we only have an hour and I know that there's a ton to talk about. So before we dive into too much, if you want to just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do and where you work and all that other good stuff.
Not a whole lot to tell, but I currently work at a performance shop. I am an automotive technician. I love cars. And actually, you are also a big reason of that because I saw you on All Girls Garage.
Aww.
I don't know if I remember having told you that before.
No, but that makes my heart so happy. That's awesome. Yes. So how long have you been a mechanic?
Thinking about 8 years now.
Okay.
I got my first like real job when I was like 21-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
So I know we talked a little bit about this like way back in the day when we were working together on High Yellow, and you know we talked about it back then. Like you were one of the first people that I'd spoken to in a while that was like, yeah, I had a positive experience and coming into the industry and finding good mentors and being treated, you know, like a technician, not like a girl who wanted to be a technician, right? Like,
right.
Tell us all a little bit about like you're 21. Take us back. Like you decided you wanted to be a mechanic. What did that process look like for you, and how did the journey go?
Well, I actually decided I want to be a tech when I was 15 or 16 years old. I was still in high school.
That's awesome.
And yeah, this is where like your story and mine kind of go together because I read or heard on one of the podcasts or something that you had wanted to be a lawyer first.
Hmm.
So did I.
Oh, really? I didn't know
So
that.
I did. I wanted to be a lawyer. I'm like, I'm going to go to law school and I'm going to do this. And I've got plans, right? And the whole cars, I've always liked cars. They're beautiful and especially classic cars. And when I was a teenager, I was working, saving up money to get my first car. So I told my dad I want to learn how to be able to do this stuff on my own. So my dad's not a mechanic, but he taught me what he knew how to do. Brakes, tune-ups, air
Yeah.
filter, like maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, I want to do this. I'm like, this is nice. This is something that makes me more independent. That was the real appeal for me
Okay.
because I like being able to not have to rely on somebody else to do something for me. Not have to pay somebody else to do something for me that I don't know if they're going to do right. I heard all these horror stories, So that is when I'm like, you know what? I want to be a mechanic. And my dad's like, all right. He
Nice.
took me. Yeah. My mom was a little bit more hesitant. She's like, well, what about the lawyer thing? I'm like, oh, I can do that later. And fast forward 10 years later, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I couldn't be inside all day. I couldn't do that. I'd go crazy. But my dad took me to look for a job, like 15, 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
He took me to go look for a job, and everybody said no. Like, everybody said no. And there was one person in specific that said it was because I was a girl. And I was really bummed, but I said, you know what? Fuck it. And I told my dad, I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to go to school for it. And at that time, my school had a program where they did that.
Okay.
But I was already either like a junior or a senior, and they said I couldn't do it no more. It was too late.
Oh, wow.
It was like a special program. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a special program that you had to start like 2 or 3 years prior, something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But when I started, my first job was a call center.
Okay.
And I'm told, several of the people that worked there, because we were all kids, And I was like, oh, I want to be a mechanic. I'm going to learn to work on cars. And then another guy there was like, oh, yeah, me too. And then another guy, he's like, oh, I did there, been there, done that. Not my thing no more. But you can have my books. I said, cool, I'll take them.
Nice.
Yeah. So working there, I said, you know what? I got to get my foot in the door somehow. So I applied at a parts store. And I got hired. Didn't know anything except what my dad had taught me. I'm like, well, this is a way to learn at least parts.
Yeah.
And learn what they do, kind of learn the basics. And it did. It helped me a lot. And then I ended up running commercial programs on the weekends.
Oh.
So I ended up talking to several shops. So I'm trying to still get my foot in the door of a shop.
Right.
So
It's a smart approach. Very smart approach.
I'm just trying to inch my way forward,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
'Cause
that's the truth. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Because I had straight up been told no because you're a girl. And just no, period. So I said, I'm going to figure it out. And thankfully, my mom came around to the idea. She's still not that long ago, maybe like a year or two ago. She's like, what about lawyer school? I'm like, yeah, Mom, not happening.
Yeah, my mom held on to that one for a long time too.
Yeah. But talking to like the commercial shops, I was asking like, do you guys have an apprenticeship program? Like, bro, you ain't even got to pay me. I just want to learn. Like I have like 3 other jobs that are part-time jobs. I just need one that I really want to do.
Right. Somebody give me a chance.
Yeah. And then there was this one guy that came in one day, and he was one of our commercial accounts, and he said he was complaining that he had to do an engine. And he's like, man, I gotta get it done this weekend. And me, jokingly, but kind of serious, it's like, do you need help? I'll help you. He said, yeah, sure, come on.
Nice.
Like, are you, yeah. And I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. So he sent me the address to the shop, right? And I go, and that's the very first thing that I did at a shop was take out an engine on a freaking Jimmy Blazer.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, like, the next thing, it just kept going.
With the same guy?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So was it a small shop that he had?
Yeah, it was just him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how long were you there for?
Well, I was there maybe like almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
But it was never full time because I was working at the parts store, and then I was also working at a credit union, and then I had a security job. I was doing a lot. I don't know what was going on in my life, but I was doing a lot.
You were making it happen, like.
Yeah. So it was always just part time. And then finally, you know, people in my life like, look, if you're serious about this, you need to go for it. Like, really go for it. Because he wasn't going to hire me full time. Like, he told me from the go, I can't. And I said, that's fine. I just want to learn. But then, you know, maybe like a year and a half or two later, I'm like, okay, this is really what I want to do. Like, the more I do it, the more I'm interested, the more I like it. And I ended up applying to the same company where the manager had told me no because I was a girl. But it wasn't at the same store. It wasn't with the same person. That person wasn't even with the company anymore. But I applied not as a technician, but as a service writer because I knew a guy that worked there, and he said, this is how you get in.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I appreciate that he told me that because I don't know if I would have been where I'm at now, you know, if he hadn't told me how to get in.
Interesting. Because I'm curious about that because I've heard a lot of women be encouraged into doing service advising with the hope that they'd eventually get into the shop, and that opportunity never happens because you don't often see those two worlds cross over. So it's I'm intrigued to hear like that worked.
It did. Well, from the go though, like I told the store manager and the service manager when I did my interview, I said, look, I'm good at sales, like, but not because I'm a salesperson, but because I like to explain things to the customer. Like, okay, you need brakes. That's it. No, like your brake pad is completely worn down, and I'll show them to them if I can, if they're there. You know, I like to explain things and make them understand why. Because, like I said, well, the reason I want to learn about it was because I heard all these horror stories and shiesty and, you know.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, I'm a good salesperson. Like, I can sell parts. I can sell things.
Yeah.
But it has to be a good reason for me to sell it. But the reason I'm coming here is because I want to be a technician. I can work on cars. I have been doing it. I do engine swaps. I've replaced head gaskets. I mean, I've replaced transmissions. I've taken, you know, I can do this. Yeah. I know I can. I just need to get in the door to be able to do it professionally. You know, I don't mind getting dirty. Because that's what the guy told me. He's like, you're a girl. You're going to get your nails dirty and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if I cared about my nails being dirty, I wouldn't be looking for a job here. Yeah. And I literally told him that. And my dad let me go into the interview, like, go looking for a job by myself. Like, he let me walk into the shop on my own. He drove me. He took me to a shop I wanted to go. But he made me go inside by myself. And when I came out that, he said, don't listen to him. Because it bothered me, you know?
Of course, yeah.
It pissed me off more than it made me sad or brought me down. But when I told him, I was like, I want to be a technician. I want to do this professionally. And he said, okay, yeah. Like, they kind of brushed it off, but they still hired me. Okay. So Then, and it was at the same shop where the guy worked, you know, and he said, "Hey, you got hired. That's great." And I'm like, "Yep. One step down, one more to go."
Yep.
And maybe like a couple weeks later, the district manager came into the store and he said, "So I heard that you want to work on cars." And I said, "I do." He said, I don't want to do sales." He said, "But you're good at it." And I said, "I know. That's not what I want to do."
I love your confidence. It's so fantastic and refreshing.
I'm normally not so confident. Like, I get really flustered when I get to work on a new car. Like, I'm excited and nervous and hesitant all at the same time. You know?
I think that's fair. Like a little bit of healthy fear is a good thing, right? Like, this is new, I don't know. But like your determination and your clarity on what you wanted to do and not letting all of the obstacles that were put in your way block or stop you is, it's admirable, and it's worth recognizing that that is what got you where you're at, is that determination and that clarity.
Thanks. And I also want to, like, it had a lot to do with the people that were willing to give me that chance too. You know, like, I know I took the chance and they gave me a chance, and how do I say, like, I made it worth it. Like, I took advantage of it.
Yeah.
You know, like the guy telling me apply as a salesperson to get in.
Yeah.
I did that knowing what my intention was, but it worked.
Because you were clear.
You know,
yeah, you were clear with them too.
right. And there was pretty much in every shop that I've worked at, there's always been someone who is willing to show me, teach me, guide me. And I'm always willing to learn. I don't think I'm ever going to be at the point where I feel like I know everything.
Good.
You know?
Yeah. None of us are. None of us do know anything. Anybody who says they know everything is lying.
I've met some that think they do.
Oh, yeah. But they're wrong.
And it sucks to say it, but it's very satisfying to prove them wrong.
We're gonna put a pin in that and come back to it because I want to hear some of those stories.
Oh, God.
Can I just say I love your dad? Like, I've not ever met him, obviously, but I love how supportive he's been of you from the get-go. Like, no questions asked, it seems, and really supporting and encouraging you, and kind of giving you that nudge, like, come on, go ahead, you can do it. I love that.
Yeah. Even though my mom didn't come around to it, like, fully, but she was always like, whatever makes you, both of them have always been, whatever makes you happy. Like, as long as I can remember, they've always told us, you get to choose your own path. And my parents are pastors, and I am very much not even close to that. But, I think they've always given us that choice, Like, I know I've met a lot of people that grew up in, like, a religious home and they've never had a choice, and then they leave and then they're just completely crazy and out there. But with us, we always had a choice. Then they've always told us, follow your own path. And I know that they're not going to agree with everything that I do, but they have always shown us to be independent. Me, my sister, my brother. My brother is the youngest. My sister is older than me. So we've always kind of been taught to go down our own path anyways.
Are your siblings as independent and self-assured as you? Like,
I think my sister is much more than all of us. She basically runs a company. She's been working for the company forever, and that's her thing. She's good. She does all my finances because I'm not good with them. As you know, I spend all my money on food.
Nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, she is very much the most, like, on her own than all of us. She's married, she's got kids and everything, but we're all very much like to have our own space and do our own thing separate from other people, you know. But we've been raised that way.
Yeah.
And I know some people like steer away from the way they were raised and all, but that's one thing that stuck with me. Like, do your own thing and don't worry about what anybody else has to say.
It's so powerful in so many different levels. Like there's so many takeaways from that, and I think one of the things that I hope comes out of these happy hours and these conversations is that I know there's parents out there watching this, like people with kids or people with grandkids, and just to hear how important that is to be able to say to your child, like, you have all these options in the world. I'm going to support you as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, right? Like,
Right.
right? Like, go do you. Find the thing that works for you, and I'll support you in doing that. So I think that's cheers to your dad and to your mom, even though it took her a while to come around, for raising you to do what you wanted to do. I think that's awesome. And I love the tenaciousness. I think that's a thing that is kind of a common thread that runs through all of us ladies in the trades, is this tenacity to like just keep going regardless of the obstacles. Like just keep
You
going.
have to.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, nobody's gonna give it to you. And I know other people and everybody else got to work for everything they got. But when somebody looks at you and is like, I haven't had it so much with coworkers and managers as much as customers, where like, you're too pretty to be working on a car. Or you don't need to be doing this. You need to be doing that. Or, you know what I mean? Like those type of comments, when they look at you and they think that, they don't think that you can work on their car. They don't think that you're capable. They're thinking less of you, and they're thinking of you in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to go like above and beyond to show them like, nah, I'm not that. Like, no, don't get me twisted. This is what I do. This has nothing to do with you or your fantasies or anything else. This is me.
Yeah, and has nothing to do with my gender. I work on cars. Period.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. This is a trade that I chose to do. And not only in auto mechanics, it's like women in all the trades.
Oh,
we
totally.
all have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I've heard it in many women say that.
Yeah. That's what you said is one of my favorite ones. You're too pretty to do this. Like, or my favorite was the like, how did a pretty little thing like you end up at a dirty repair shop? I'm like,
yeah.
Come on. Don't know what that.
And I imagine it was worse when it was yours. It's like, this is mine.
Right.
Like, I own this.
Yeah, that was always the most fun, right? Like always the most fun. Yeah, I am the boss. Thanks.
Right.
All right, I want to come back to these stories of like proving people wrong. Do you have any like ones that stand out in your mind? Like this was an awesome moment.
Not one in particular.
Okay.
But like I said, it's very satisfying. It can be something simple, something small. Oh, okay. There's one that when doing diagnostics is not my forte, because I'm more mechanical. Electrical is like, ugh. But I'm trying to learn it, and I'm trying to get good at it and better at it, But when it comes to the electronics, it just kind of like my brain just goes. But there was a car that came in and it had a code for a specific sensor that had no communication or something like that. And one dude, he said, oh, we're going to do this. And I said, well, I haven't tested anything. No, we're going to do this. All right.
Didn't fix it.
I said, didn't fix it. 3 parts later, car gets fixed. 3 very expensive parts later, because it's also a European car.
Oh, of course.
And it's my fault. No. I specifically said we had not done any testing. I recommended a diagnostic, and I was ignored. So that's not on me. I did the work. I got paid for the labor to replace the parts. But I didn't recommend any of them. And that was one that was hard for them to swallow, but I said, nah, I'm not taking the blame. Like, I didn't do it.
Good for you. That's an interesting one, because I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to that. Like being ignored, especially when it's, a boss or a foreman or, somebody that's in a more experienced position than you. And I think a lot of times we bite our tongue and don't say what's on our mind, right? Like, we know this is wrong. We know this isn't the right thing, but we're too afraid to say it, or once it gets shut down, it shuts us down completely. Like, how do you handle that, and what is your advice to people in those kinds of situations to handle it in a professional way?
I tried to be professional, right? I said, look, I don't think we should do that, because apart from buying these parts and ordering these parts, the vehicle left and came back to get these parts replaced. So this wasn't like within a day. This was like a week or two that it was going on, because the car left and came back. And I spoke to the manager and I said, hey man, I don't think we should do this. And he said, no, we're going to do it. All right, whatever. I told you my piece. Comes back, and then I talk to the owner. I'm like, listen, like, this is what's going on, and I don't like it. I'm not down with this. I don't like to do this. I know I'm not great at diagnostics, especially electrical, and I'm down to learn, but this isn't learning. This is literally throwing parts at it.
Throwing parts, yeah.
Yeah. And said, oh, be patient with the manager. Cool. Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, cool. Then later on, I don't even remember what happened, that the manager complained about me yelling at him, which I didn't yell at him, but he felt that I did. So talked to the owner again. I'm like, look, I'm trying to work with this person, but it's not working out. Like, I'm really trying, but I mean, I can't, the car doesn't even get into my bay. I don't even get assigned the ticket. And there's already a diagnostic on it. And there's already a part on it. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And then when it's wrong, it's my fault.
You get blamed, right?
Yeah. So that's why I said, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
Good for you. Good for you. How long do you wind up working there?
A couple of years. Okay. But that was toward like the end of it.
Okay. Because
that
was
exactly. That was the reason that I left. The company was good, great benefits. I did training and all that. But that, I said, nah.
Yeah.
I can't work like this. I can't learn like this. This is not gonna work. So it was good at first, and then, certain things change, and I've heard a lot of people say, people don't quit the company, they quit the managers. And that's true.
That is very true. I heard it said another way, that employees aren't bad, managers make them bad, right? Like, employees come to work, nobody shows up to work being like, I'm gonna suck at this job, right? Like, I'm gonna have a bad attitude, I'm gonna suck at this job, and I'm gonna get fired, right? Like, nobody comes to work like that, but managers drive them
kill your vibe.
Will kill your vibe, yes.
Yeah. Like,
So,
for real.
yeah, totally.
I'm like, this is not healthy.
Yeah. And I think what I appreciate about you is that you're like, I'm gonna take this situation, I'm gonna learn as much as I can, and then I'm gonna go to another situation and learn as much as I can. And when it got to the place where it wasn't a healthy or productive environment, you're like, all right, I'm done, I'm moving on. But that didn't dissuade you from pursuing your goal. And that's where I think so many people, both male and female, right, like get stuck in this place of, I went to this one shop, it was awful, I'm just going to go do something else and give up on my dream of being a mechanic or whatever it is your
Yeah.
dream is, right? So
Mm.
I think the value in get what you can from it, learn what you can from it, and then know that there's other places out there. Like,
Exactly. There's other shops, there's other companies, there's, and you don't have to go in for the position that you're looking for from the go. Like I said, I went in as a salesperson.
yeah,
And the first job I found was selling parts.
right,
It wasn't even working on cars.
right,
You know? It was like, for some people, it's you go all in. Apply to a dealership and not. I did too. And it didn't work out. So I started all the way at the bottom, selling parts.
yep,
And I'm working my way. Now I work at a performance shop. And it's just me and the owner. And he's a really cool dude. I mean, he teaches me, but he also lets me learn on my own.
nice.
So it gets better. If you're just starting off working on cars, it gets better. And I'm someone that's very, very hard on myself.
No.
And
This shocks me, Dee. This shocks me.
so it's like it's hard, but having someone around that's gonna lift you up when you get down and you feel like you can't do it, or even if you just gotta tell yourself, I can do this. I know I can do this. I can do this. Because that's literally, I'm just working on something. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna fix this. And I've been doing this forever. Like sometimes, it's cars. A 2-hour job turns into a 5-hour, 6-hour job.
Yeah, sometimes they go smooth, sometimes they kick your butt.
Right. And then sometimes I'm just like, should I be working on cars? Like, is this, like, I like doing it, but should I really be doing this for a living? Like, but it always takes just either that one person or that one moment for you to realize, yeah, this is really what I want to be doing. This is what I like to do. I don't care if I get dirty. I don't care if I'm hurting at the end of the day. I'm like, I'm old.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that for sure. But yeah, and you're right. It is like just that. It just needs one. It takes one person, right? Like we so much need our allies. We need the men out there that are supportive, that will give us a chance to get our foot in the door. The guy who said yes to you helping him put an engine in, like,
Right.
he didn't have to, right? Like, and you happened to ask somebody who was down for it and didn't care that you were a female, and that was totally cool. And there are those people out there, and sometimes when there aren't any around, you're right, like sometimes it's the pep rally we have to give ourselves, even if we don't necessarily believe it. Like, it's okay, I got this, I can figure this
Right.
out, right? But I think that feeling doesn't go away for a while for a lot of people. That moment of, when you're getting your butt kicked by a car, is that questioning. Like I remember so many of those moments, like 7, 8, 9 years into being a technician, where I'd encounter something that I'd never seen before, and all of what I thought wasn't making any sense, and I'm like, who the heck am I to think that I can do this, right? Like that self-questioning comes in, and I feel like I hear that more from women than from men. I don't know if you have that same experience.
Yeah, but I think it's because we feel like we have to prove ourselves more. Like, or period.
Right.
Like I want to be a master tech. I have 3 more to go. and I'm almost there. I feel like I'm almost there, you know. But if I go apply somewhere, they're going to ask my certifications. They're going to ask my experience, where I've seen a male counterpart apply for the same job, have less certifications, have less experience, and get that job at a higher rate than I could.
Yeah.
So I think all of that is what makes us be like, I need to do more. I need to try harder. I need to be better than the guy next to me.
Right. Yeah, it almost becomes like internalized, right? Like, because we're getting it so much from the outside of, oh, well, of course you can't figure that out, or of course you're not, because you're a girl and I didn't even expect you to be able to do that, right? There's
Right.
like that negativity that when we do come up against something that we don't know, it's like, oh, maybe they're right, right? And I think sometimes it's that like internalized stuff that's even harder to deal with than
Is
the outside stuff, right? The outside stuff I can be like, no. Like I can be whatever I want
right.
to be. Don't tell me what I can't
Exactly.
be. It's the like the little internal voices that are the most dangerous ones.
Right, because somebody else can tell me, man, fuck you and get out of my life.
Right.
Like, who are you? Like, what's my life got to do with you? Nothing.
Right.
But my life got everything to do with me. So everything I do affects me. So if I do something wrong, I'm just like, you know, it's just that much worse. Like today I finished up a transmission on a Honda Odyssey.
Okay.
And when I was putting it back up, I noticed that the power steering switch, the pressure switch, the wires were broken out. So I asked my boss, I'm like, and I said, hey, did this have a power steering pressure switch code? He said, no. He's like, okay. He's like, why? I was like, I broke the wires, but I can fix them. You know? But before, it wouldn't have been like that if I hadn't already done that.
Right.
If I hadn't already had to fix them. Even if it wasn't my mess up. Even if it wasn't something that I broke. Right. But I know how to fix that. You know? I bungeed up the rack and pinion, but it still gave it enough slack to where it pulled the wires out.
Right.
But I fixed it. No big deal, because I knew how to fix it.
Right.
And I knew it wasn't going to take me that long to fix it, so I didn't completely cut my pipe.
We had a big talk about that. You know, I was telling everybody at the beginning of this that you were out recently to work on the build and how much fun we had. But we had a situation. We were all working on a car and something happened that wasn't ideal, right? And yet, we wound up in this like really awesome conversation that like I think something positive comes out of every negative situation, right? As long as you learn from it. But we wound up having this conversation where we're all sitting around sharing our stories of major mistakes we've made, because we all have them, right?
Right.
And learning how, I think that's the biggest lesson, is learning how to not let it defeat you when you make a mistake, and to embrace that now you know how to fix something else, right? Like, now you know how to fix that thing.
Yeah. And I'm still working on that. Like small ones like that, I'm totally fine with, because I know it's not going to take me too long, Right. But a big one, that one still hurts.
Totally. Well, it's like we build up evidence, right? So like you've built up enough evidence that a little thing you can fix. You can fix wiring. You can fix a pinched hose or a bad gasket, or a strict bolt or whatever it is. So you like build up these incremental pieces of evidence over time, to where you get to a place where even when it is a big thing, it's like, it's okay, I can fix it. Like it sucks, but I can fix it, right?
Like it sucks because this 5-hour job is now a 3-day job.
Right. Yes. Yes. And I mean, I've been in the industry for 22 years, right? And there's still stuff that kicks my butt. There's one kicking my butt right now. Like it it happens, and it's the keeping going and the not internalizing that I think is the hard part, and yet
Yeah,
it's the most
definitely.
important part. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
So I want to know more about this performance shop that you're at, and how was that you went straight there from the other shop?
Yeah. Um, it's mostly Chevys and LSs that he likes to do, which
Okay.
I'm I'm fine with, even though ironically I have a Hemi, but whatever. Fast cars, performance, loud, I like
Right.
it.
Right.
So, it's just me and him, just me and my boss. He's the owner, and we still work on everything except, European.
Whatever.
But most shops don't anyways, unless they're specialized. But we work on pretty much everything. Like I did a Honda, like I said, I did a Honda Odyssey. We work on, he likes mostly old Chevys and do LS swaps in them.
Okay.
So performance upgrades. And I like it. The one thing that he told me that sticks out is you have to learn how the basics work in order to upgrade them. So if you don't know how this works, you can't make it better. You can't make it faster. You
Here's
can't
to
make
that. Yes.
for real.
Yes.
So that really stuck with me.
That's huge, right? Like I hear a lot of young kids, guys and girls, who are like, I want to go into race cars, I want to go into performance, I want to go into all of this stuff. And like, that's great. Hold on to
Right.
that. Don't let go of that. Like I love that drive and determination. And right, you've got to learn the basics before you can go to that next step, because you're going to create all sorts of problems that you don't know how to handle. You don't know what it is you're doing to the system if you don't understand the system to begin with. So
Right.
put in the time. Like put in the time.
Yeah, like I'm glad that I feel like I worked my way up, you know. I'm glad that I worked my way up to performance and that I ended up at the shop where I'm at, because I'll be working on a car and he's like, "Hey, D, come check this out. Have you seen this, or have you done this before?" Like, nah. And then he'll show me, you know. I was like, "Oh, look at this, and this is different, or this is not the right way to do it," because he's fixing something that somebody else thought was a performance upgrade, and it ends up not working out, you know. So it's been going really good. I
That's,
definitely like it there.
that is awesome. And how long has it been now?
August, September, October, November, December, January.
Oh, not long.
About 8 months.
Months. All
Mm-hmm.
right. I love it. That is super fantastic. I
Been there
love,
since August.
okay. Mentorship, man. Like that's the number one thing, and I wish more folks in the industry understood how important that is. Like it's not just as
Mm-hmm.
women that we face this. Young people in general experience the same thing you did of, how do I get experience if nobody will give me a chance to get experience? Right?
Right.
What what is your, because you've worked with both awesome mentors who have taken you under their wing, and you've worked with some folks who were not. What is your advice to those out there that maybe are in the industry and maybe are in a situation where they have somebody young, or like how can they be a good mentor? How can they be a good ally?
If you want to be a good mentor, don't shut somebody down for asking questions. Don't make them feel bad for asking questions. I've always asked questions because I've always want to learn, you know, but I've also seen me be the favorite and somebody else get turned down or turned away when they were asked a question. So don't do that. It's fine. You can have a favorite, whatever. But if someone wants to learn, teach them. Like, I've been in a situation where I haven't been able to learn as much as I wanted to from a person that was willing to teach me, because I didn't go to school for this. I started in a shop. So it was not always practical for someone to take an hour out of their time while they're trying to make money to teach me something, you know? So I didn't exactly learn in an environment where that's easy to do. So if someone asks you a question and you can answer it, just answer it. It's not that hard, you know? And for the people that are starting off, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
And if the people you're working with don't want to tell you, Google it. And don't just find anybody on Google. Don't just go off of any forum either. Please don't do that. Google is your friend, but it can also screw you over.
Absolutely. Don't be internet certified. There's good information out there, but there's a lot of bad information too.
It is. You gotta be willing to do the research.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah. One of my first bosses, he was a nightmare for so many reasons, but there were like things that in retrospect, I'm so grateful for, because there were things that I thought he was doing to punish me, right? Like, I would ask him a question and he would show me to where the books are and the manuals were. And he's like, figure it out. And I was like, oh, damn it, right? Like, I was so irritated because I would then spend like 3 hours in the room with the books instead of out working on cars. And I thought I was being punished. But in retrospect, it's like, that was the best thing he could have done. Right? He taught me how to find the answers, because there isn't always somebody around to be able to explain it to you. So learning how to fix it yourself and find the information yourself is huge.
And that's something that my boss tells me now, still to this day, the one that I'm working with right now. He's always telling me, he said, I want to give you the resources that you need to do it yourself. I don't want you to need me. You know, whatever you can do on your own, do it. So I've done the same thing too. Like, I mean, like I said, diagnostics is not my forte. But with it being just me and him usually doing the performance upgrades and me doing almost all the other regular stuff, then he gets all the cool fun project cars and I get to work on them too.
Yeah.
So, but in the meantime, I'm doing everything else. And so I don't want to keep pulling him off of those projects. And he's told me he wants me to learn. And I want to learn too. And I learn more by doing. So if I have to research it myself, and it takes me 3 hours to look up something because it's not very common, but I still need to figure it out, next time I'm going to know where to look first.
Yeah. And probably have learned a bunch of other stuff along the way.
In the process, exactly. 3 hours worth of reading stuff is not going to go for nothing.
No, definitely not. And you're right, there is a fine line between asking the question, even if it feels like a dumb question, and going to figure it out yourself. Like, and I try to do this with my apprentices at my shop. Like, they would come to me for everything, with every question. And I kind of started doing this thing where I would intentionally be like, I'll be right out with you. And then I'd wait like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And then I'd go out and they'd have figured it out by the time I got there. And I knew that would happen. Like, try it. Like, at least have tried something before you come to me. And then if you come to me, I'm happy to help you. Right. But at least have tried to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, that's definitely something that has helped me in learning and being able to do the diagnostics. Because I was like, okay, so where do I start? And so my boss was like, well, where do you think you should start? Like, don't answer a question with a question. But when he does that, it works.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, not all the time, because yeah, it doesn't always work, but for the most part, it does.
Yeah.
You know?
And diagnostics come with time, like especially electrical diagnostics. Like that is not something that comes easily or quickly. And for this, in the same way that you talked about like performance, you, in order to do performance, you need to know the basics. Like same with diagnostics. If you don't know how the system works well enough that you can apply it to any type of car that you're working on, regardless of what make or model, that you get the systems, then you can go through it in a logical manner and try to eliminate and work your way through. But that's time and experience, and don't beat yourself up for that. That is like everybody's, that's the next hump to get over in your journey in your career, is getting less afraid of diagnostics.
Right. And that's what everybody tells me. But like I said, I'm hard on myself and I want to figure it out now.
Well, that's going to get you there quickly. So that's a good attitude to have, just as long as you're not beating yourself up too much.
I try not to.
So what's next for you? Do you want to stay at this place for a while and learn? Do you have other goals? Like what are you thinking?
I do. I wanted to have my own shop. Not so sure about that anymore. Because, I mean, my boss, that's what he wanted. And I've heard you say that it's not as glamorous as everybody thinks it is. And I've seen it.
Yeah.
You know, because it was just him. And now I'm there. And poor guy, when I went to Phoenix, he's like, I was here till 1 a.m. every day. He said,
tell him I'm sorry I stole you away for a week.
he said next time you go on vacation, I'm going on vacation too. We shutting it down. I said that's fine. I'll go to Phoenix. You can go to your mountains with your wife and your family and your kids, and you know, you guys all have a good time. I'll go work.
Yeah.
But now that I see,
go ahead.
Yeah, it's not as glamorous. Besides being your own boss,
Sure.
You're not gonna be able to work on cars, and that's what I want to do. You know, like that was always my end goal. Like I want to have my own shop. I still want a big, huge shop at my house for me and my toys and my cars, but I'm not so sure that I want to work on customers' cars and have my own shop anymore. Because I see that he has very limited time. You know, like between paperwork and phone calls and ordering parts and all of this stuff that comes with it. And I'm just like, you can have that. Like, I'm going to stay over here wrenching on whatever I'm doing. Like, the phone's ringing? Oh, the phone's ringing. A customer's here? Hey, a customer's here. Nah, I still deal with customers, you know, but not as much.
Yeah.
And I mostly get to just work on cars in my own little world, working on whatever car I'm working on, you know.
Yeah.
So I very much enjoy that much more than having to deal with everything else that comes with it.
Right. And that's not to dissuade anybody from starting a business if that's what you want to do, but like,
no.
Right, to the point, it's like, know what you're getting into, right? And seeing the other side. And if that still sounds exciting to you, then absolutely go do it. But know what you're getting into, that if what you love is fixing cars, then fix cars. If what you love is all of it and being a business owner and dealing with the customers and the paperwork and all of the things and running the ship, if that excites you, then do it, right? And
you can do both, and if you have the customer base and everything, you can hire somebody to do the paperwork for you.
Yes.
You know, if I still eventually later on end up having my own shop, my sister would probably be the one that does all of that.
Does she know that?
She does.
Okay.
She does.
She's
an accountant. No, she's an accountant. She knows how to do all the business and all that stuff. So I'm just like, here's my money.
Figure it out.
Like this is what I made. These are all the papers, and yeah, okay. I'm gonna go order parts and sell and work on cars.
Yep. I love it. So we are running low on time, which went like this hour went so fast because you are so amazing and wonderful. And I feel like we could talk. I mean, we do. When we hang out, we talk for hours. So I know that we could continue talking for forever. But and you've got this fire within you, and you kept pushing and you kept going no matter what, and you're continuing to do that. That's not native in everybody, right? Not everybody has that in them. What are your words of advice to a younger you, or a young woman out there, or even a young guy out there, and who's wanting to do this and maybe doesn't have that same fire within them? How do they
If you don't find what you're looking for, the first place that you end up at, keep looking. Like just how you go into interview shops. They interview you, you need to interview them. Ask them what their pay rate is, what's their turnover rate. That is a very big,
Yes.
huge,
Yes.
huge indication as to what it's like to work in that shop.
Yeah. No, that's a great, yeah, that's a fantastic question to ask. I love it. Thank you for bringing that one up.
Yes. Because that right there will tell you how good of a shop to work in it is. Because if if the person, their most senior person, has only been there a year and a half, that's not good.
Unless they've only been in business for a year and a half.
Right. But if they've been in business for 10, 15 years and they don't have an employee that's 10, 15 years or even 5 years,
yeah,
that's not a good sign.
no,
Just if what you like to do is work on cars, or whatever trade, because I feel like trades are the hardest to get into.
I agree.
But they are also the most important jobs out there. Like, we literally keep everything going. Without mechanics, there's no cars on the road.
Right.
There's no trucks on the road. Without plumbers, you don't have indoor plumbing. Without electricians, you don't have light inside your house. Like,
Yeah,
the list goes on. The list goes on. But if something that you want to do is a trade, educate yourself. That's one thing that I regret not doing, is going to school for it, which I plan on correcting very soon.
Okay, like it.
Educate yourself. Find a good mentor and find a champion. Someone that is going to stand up for you when you can't stand up for yourself. Because I remember when I was working at a parts store, a person came in asking